Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
I just want to apologize to Mike's mom and Josh's mom and my mom. And I'm sorry to everyone.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. Sorry, I was taking the mickey out of that clip.
If anyone should be doing whispering, it should be me, because I've got sore throat, nose, everything aches.
I know, but I was doing the intro to the show, and so I was the one taking the mickey out of that clip, and that clip was from the original Blair Witch project, which we're reviewing the threequel, the third one in the series, a little bit later on. It is the 19th of September 2016. Yes, we are stupidly late if you're listening to us live. It is 25 to 10 at night, so we'll try and keep this show a bit shorter and sharper, try to finish for around about 11 o'clock, giving us 90 minutes in your brilliant company. If you listen to us back live, on the podcast or whatever, you don't actually care when we're recording this live. Anyway,
Don't make me laugh.
Sorry. It is 25 to 10 and Andy has a major bad cold. We couldn't record tomorrow because I'm busy. Job and training and all that kind of stuff is scrambling my brain, so today was the only time. So
we couldn't have done it yesterday, because yesterday I was laid out completely.
Yeah, we don't know what you get up to. We don't want to know what you get up to on a weekend.
Oh.
Anyway, we're here to review films. Despite us trying to be here for only 90 minutes, there's a lot to get through on this week's show.
Yeah. And
not a very kid-friendly show neither.
Yeah, and none of them is the latest. Bridget Jones.
Films this week.
Bridget Jones. None of them is the latest Bridget Jones, because we haven't seen that. We really
even if we did have the new Bridget Jones film, that's rated 15, so still no kid-friendly films on this week's show. So if kiddies are listening, get to bed.
It's too late. Yeah.
Adults.
It's a bit late for them anyway. Should be up. They should be in bed already.
We relish the company. On this week's show, then, in the cinema section, we've got 3 films. Like I said, none of them are Bridget related. We're looking at these movies.
Yep. As already mentioned there, we have the aforementioned Blair Witch, the third in the series after the first Blair Witch project, and the rather disastrous Blair Witch 2. Which of the two will it be closest to? Well, we'll find out in a bit. We have after that then we have Bryan Cranston in the latest true story adaptation of to do with a drug related story in The Infiltrator. And a Australian movie, couple of Australian movies later. We have another one in this show, but we have starting off with Australian things, Hunt for the Wilderpeople. Yeah,
and on Blu-ray and DVD again, not very kid-friendly. We're looking at these movies.
Yeah, especially not the first one, which will be Green Room, which is a particularly violent, kind of dark, violent movie. Follow-up to a film called Blue Ruin. If you haven't heard of that, look up that, because that's a great one. We have Tom Hanks, but not in a kid film. Well, it's an odd one, we'll get to that when we get to it. Hologram for the King. Horror again with friend requests. A war story, drama, comedy. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. And kids, if you're wondering what Whiskey Tango Foxtrot is, ask your parents. And we have Richard Linklaters back with Everybody Wants Some. The Australian other film I mentioned is The Daughter. Another horror film with Abattoir, and then we have a small war story again with Despite the Falling Snow.
And on top of that, TV Movie of the Week, overall Movie of the Week, the Blu-ray DVD Top 10 and the UK Box Office Top 10. As always, we'll kick things off with the movie news.
Yep, a couple of pieces that I've got. First of all is about, Tom Cruise and the Mission Impossible franchise. As we've heard before, there have been problems with this, with the upcoming Mission Impossible 6, issues to do surrounding the whole thing of how much Tom Cruise will get paid, because there's the whole thing of whether or not he gets paid an upfront salary or if he gets paid a percentage of the potential gross of the film. And given how much that the Mission Impossible franchise is doing for Paramount, you can bet they probably want to pay him a fixed amount and not pay a percentage of it. Don't know the details yet as to what they've come to, but they have come to an arrangement of some sorts. Things are resolved, and Tom Cruise is now officially on board for Mission Impossible 6, so it's definitely going ahead. It's going to be written and directed by Christopher McQuarrie, who wrote and directed one of Tom Cruise's recent films, Jack Reacher. Not the new one coming up, but the first one, which I really did enjoy, so I'm looking forward to it. Christopher McQuarrie is a great writer, maybe not the best director, but he's definitely a great writer.
Yeah, we'll probably never find out what the monetary value of Tom Cruise is. I don't think studios are interested in actually releasing that into the public view, so we can probably guess it's 20 million plus. We can probably guess, because they would not have had any kind of problems if it was below the $20 million mark. So we can sort of like surmise it's over that, because they'll want to get him back. They'll want to continue with him playing the lead role in the Mission Impossible series, because now it would be slightly silly to recast his character, recast him. If they were going down the new route, they would have to reboot the entirety of the series.
Yeah, it's always one of those things that they can replace the character and bring in, the other characters from the past, because he's kind of set up as being more of a superior agent role, sort of, than the previous films. I mean, I'm just looking actually on IMDb at his what he's been paid for films and things, and so you have things like his percentage and stuff. It's quite interesting. You're seeing he's get like paid on average. You're talking about 8-figure numbers here, 10, 11, 12.5 million. Mission Impossible, it was 12.5 million, and plus a percentage of back end. It doesn't say what percentage it was, so you can bet he got paid, upwards of 20 million probably on that, based on what Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol made.
And this is an actor who was beaten by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, so he probably has looked at what Dwayne Johnson made last year and said, you know what, we can't have a repeat of this. We can't have him taking over Hollywood. I need a raise, no matter what. So yeah, they were obviously going to get him back, and I don't think they would have continued the series unless they could get him back for at least one more movie. Okay.
Other piece of news I've got is, you're probably not so interested in this, but I am, because it's about film score composers, and in particular the one that was due to be scoring Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Alexander Desplat has now departed that film. This has not been really confirmed, but it's rumoured to be due to reshoots, because of the reshoots have then affected either the movie and the tone and everything doesn't work for him anymore, or either that he's just too busy and not able to film it, to work on it, because bear in mind that the film is supposed to be out in December, so any score or anything is going to have to be done, recorded, edited, put together and everything on the film before it gets then mass duplicated to be sent out everywhere. So who's been brought in to replace him? It is Michael Giacchino, and we're having discussions over the name here, but because you think it was pronounced
Giacchino.
Yeah, I think it's Giacchino, because I did see J.J. Abrams in an interview mention him as Giacchino, I think, so I'm going by that. But he's obviously connected with J.J. Abrams. If you don't know, he's done the music for all 3 of the new Star Trek movies, along with a whole bunch of other things that he's worked with J.J. Abrams, so he's quite well known. I think this is kind of actually an improvement in the choice of the scores, because nothing against Alexander Desplat, he's done some great scores, but none of them that I can kind of go, yeah, okay, there is a similar kind of feeling in that to Star Wars. Whereas Michael Giacchino, I do think has a feel to him that's very much like John Williams. John Williams, incidentally, is still down as being confirmed for scoring Star Wars Episode 8, which will be next year. So he's still doing them, but he's not doing the spin-off ones.
Yeah, I'm looking over Alexander Desplat's work on IMDb, and I think the closest I can see, which is in scale and scope, of Star Wars, is the last Harry Potter film, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, which Desplat actually did in 2011. Since then, he's did everything from Argo to Rise of the Guardians, Zero Dark 30, which had a really good soundtrack, Godzilla, which you can sort of get the tone there. He did Tales of Tales. He also did The Secret Life of Pets this year.
Yeah,
so
it's interesting.
I think what Desplat does is you can see from his oeuvre, he's more there for the smaller films, whereas I agree with you with Giacchino, or however you want to pronounce it. I think he's much more of a grandeur kind of scale. Williams, as you said. I
think as well, it's interesting you're picking Harry Potter there, because John Williams did score the first 3 Harry Potter films, I think, and then he left it because he didn't want to do any more of them. But he obviously created those themes that were then, thankfully, kept all the way through it. The themes were run all the way through. So the thing is that Desplat, as much as he was able to then use John Williams' themes in that, didn't get to do his own thing. Didn't have to do his own. And the thing is, anyone who's doing Rogue One, because it is a Star Wars film, it's set in the Star Wars universe, but it is not a Star Wars episode film. It's a spin-off. It's it's not directly connected with the others. So I don't necessarily think it has to be sounding the same.
Well, as I said, Desplat is mainly concentrated on dramas because he has done things like Suffragette the Danish Girl as well and Florence Foster Jenkins. So they're much more drama oriented, and I think he's more comfortable on that kind of front. And so by the looks of it, Giacchino prefers like the grand scheme of things. So it's fine to me. I really like both their soundtracks, both their musics, and I've started to attune to the music in films more so since doing this show compared to what I was originally like. I do love listening to movie soundtracks and love listening to what they come up with now. So yeah, it's a good fit. I've only got a couple of pieces of news because it's been a quiet week when it comes to news. According to the Dark Horizon, they've discovered a story in the Australian newspaper The Herald Sun that pre-production has begun on Mad Max The Wasteland and is looking to film in the Broken Green area of the Outback. It also looks like the film could be a prequel and that it will focus on Charlize Theron's character Furiosa.
Interesting. Surprising that they're going for a prequel and not a sequel, because normally when you're going to a newly introduced character, you don't go back to their new story, their origin story, until the third film that's featuring them, which is a bit unusual. But I guess maybe there's the option that leaves out that if they're going to have another film in the future, then that will be carrying on with Mad Max, they're planning to set up Furiosa to come back and have the two of them again.
Yeah, I think by the looks of things, Furiosa was a very popular character, and so they were probably contemplating whether to do a standalone movie regarding Furiosa's character, or look at just sticking with the name of Mad Max and maybe have Max in there somewhere, but looking at a backstory.
Yeah,
so,
I would suggest though, I would hope they won't do just the typical thing of going, oh, she lost an arm, let's do an origin story of her and how she lost the arm, because that's just going to be, don't need to do that.
They might just do what they've done with the Bourne films and sort of like make Furiosa's story still use the name of Mad Max, but sort of like have only the connection with Furiosa with Mad Max like the Bourne Legacy did. So we'll see. Todd McFarlane has confirmed that the new Spawn reboot movie that he's working on will be a very dark, R-rated, scary and badass film, and that the movie will take the series in a different direction.
If he gets this go ahead on this, it will not get the budget that he wants. It won't, because of the fact being an R-rated movie. R-rated movies, as much as after Deadpool, the studios are kind of going, oh, R-rated movies are good. They can be financially successful, but they don't, because of that, they don't get the kind of budgets that things like we were talking about the new Guardians of the Galaxy film having a budget in excess of $250 million. And you won't get that for an R-rated film, no chance. And I mean, obviously he doesn't need that, but the most you can kind of get going forward with an R-rated film, you'd be lucky to get kind of 60 million.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens on that front. Final sort of piece of news is, according to the Mirror, so take this with a pinch of salt considering that it is coming from the UK newspaper The Mirror, Guy Ritchie is in early talks to direct the next Bond film. He has flown over to Los Angeles to speak to the Broccoli people, or whatever you want to call them, and he is in early talks, and now it is only early talks, so other directors could be brought in, but he is the first director on the list to direct the next Bond film.
Is he going to be brought in to make James Bond into a diamond geezer?
See, this is the reason why I want to take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, the one thing I would say for that is, I would say if they're going to look at bringing someone in, because of obviously there have been issues, not fully known, but issues to do with Daniel Craig and the films and with Sam Mendes. Don't know the details, but we know that somewhere along the line somebody is not happy with things. I would say to them that what they should do is look at contacting and see if they can get Matthew Vaughn in, because he has worked with Daniel Craig. He started him off with Layer Cake. And Matthew Vaughn's definitely come up to being a director that can handle something that's the scale of a Bond film. He's done things, recently doing I'm forgetting the name of it now, the Kingsman. X-Men, he's done films with them, so he's definitely got what it takes to make a big budget blockbuster thing like that. So and having worked with Daniel Craig, as long as there's no ill will or issues between them after having worked together on Layer Cake, I would say bring him in, because of the fact that the chances are, if they are looking at trying to keep Daniel Craig around, they need to kind of keep him a bit sweet on side. You know
what, I would just say completely start from scratch. Daniel Craig is not worth the rumored $150 million. He is not even worth a tenth of that when it comes to acting.
But they want to keep him on. I think.
I know they do want to keep him that, but is any actor worth that much money to keep him just to do one more film? Would the Bond franchise be sort of like destroyed if they went with a different actor? No, it wouldn't be. People would still go to the cinema to see it, and they can just imagine how much money they could save if they got in a different actor who's only going to get 10 million rather than 150 million, because no actor is worth that much money. Not Daniel Craig. He's not that good of an actor as it is anyway. So $150 million actor, no chance. So I think they should just start completely from scratch. Go with a different Bond, go with a different director, go in a different tact as well, because the series has become lax. It's become boring with Daniel Craig at the helm as James Bond. He's had his time. That's it. He's done with the series. Get somebody else in.
But you're not a Bond fan anyway, though. So
I'm not, though. But still, though, even you agreed with the last film, Spectre. Yeah. It was starting.
Spectre was, but I don't think, as I say, I don't think that's down to him entirely. I think it's down to largely to Sam Mendes, because Skyfall and Spectre are very different from the rest of the Bond films. And
no, I think blame has to be placed under the feet of Daniel Craig as well, because he looked bored. He looked like he didn't even want to be in the film at all. So I think blame needs to be put on both feet, and that's the reason why it should start again. Before we move on to the box office top 10, just two things I'm going to smush together is Chris Pratt is rumoured to be taking a 6-month break from Hollywood, despite the fact that he has got the busiest schedule out of any actor probably. And one of the movies that he's looking to be starring in, the sequel to Jurassic World 2, directed by Juan Antonio Bayona, is rumoured to have a budget of a huge $260 million.
Yeah,
which is insane.
That's ambitious to think that that's going to do well. I mean, Jurassic World didn't do fantastic. It didn't do terrible, but it didn't do.
It took over $1 billion worldwide.
Yeah, but I don't think it did. I think a lot of people saw it and they were like, afterwards. I don't think a lot of people were wowed by it as much as they should have been, really.
Well, if Jurassic World 2 takes over $1 billion, it'll make a profit of around about $400 million. Any studio would snap that up, considering the kind of box office takings of the big blockbuster movies over this summer. Because this summer blockbuster movies have failed badly. So any studio.
Well, I wouldn't say failed. I'd say performed badly.
No, I would say failed badly. I think studios would gladly take even $100 million profit, considering what's happened over this summer. The UK box office top 10 then.
Yeah, and before we go into the top 10, as usual, going over ones that didn't make it into the top 10. Captain Fantastic is at number 11, which I really enjoyed. Thought it was a great film. I was really disappointed it didn't make it into the top 10, because I was hoping it would. I still haven't seen War Dogs yet either, which is at number 11, or Cafe Society, which I definitely want to see. So I'm going to hopefully try and see them before they disappear completely, because that'll be them heading out now. But looking at them, the top 15, Anthropoid, also new entry at number 15, disappointing, but I can understand because it was a small release. I mean, I only got one showing a day where I saw it.
There's one other movie I need to mention because it has an insane drop-off. The Ninth Life of Louis Drax, drop-off of 97.1%.
Wow.
So
I did want to see it, but I just had another chance again.
In its second week, it made £228. which is just absolutely nuts. And the biggest increase went to Zootopia, which made an increase of over 3,600%. Which is nice to actually see an increase of that in the chart, isn't it?
Yeah, it must be. It's getting the Saturday morning showings for kids and stuff, so it'll be because of that. Okay, number 10 is Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it's still in there. It's the final week. It's in the top 10. A lot of people thought that this film would do bad. As a matter of fact, if you look at Mark from Following the Nerd, he put up a comparison on his Facebook feed which showed you how many films the Suicide Squad and Batman vs Superman previous film is taken against some of the Marvel movies. Stop comparing them. Just stop doing that, because that just stokes the fire even more so. But yeah, it has actually done better than a lot of the Marvel movies, and it has took over 700 million worldwide, so it hasn't been a bomb despite the hate from the critics. It's a movie that you can see where it does deserve some of the hate, because it is laxing in a lot of areas. Studio messing around with the movie is one big example, but it's still fine to watch.
Number 9, one of a few that I still haven't managed to see, and this has been out for 8 weeks now, and that's the BFG.
Yeah, it's when we're speaking about movies that have had a really bad summer, this is definitely the antithesis of one of those films. The BFG has badly underperformed, badly. It's looking to make $100 million loss, and that's huge for a director in the scope of Steven Spielberg. So you can see that not a lot of people have actually latched onto it. In the UK, it's done brilliantly well. It has done well here, yeah. Yeah, this is the only area. As a matter of fact, it's taken pretty much nearly more in the UK than it has in America. Yeah, if you go by exchange rates, it's actually taken more. Do you know how much it's taken here? You can see that right now, because I can't, but I'm looking at... It's 29.19 million. Yeah, do you know how much it's taken in America, just in America? About $55 million. So yeah, if you look at more than double what the UK one is, but still, that is really bad. Exchange rate puts it very, very close, considering that in the UK we have about 65 to 70 million people. In America, it's easily quadruple, maybe even times that by 10 in America. So it hasn't found its audience over there. It has over here. It's a very British centric kind of story. It's a movie that's average at best. And number 8 is Brotherhood, which we both haven't seen. This is the third and final part in Noel Clarke's Hood trilogy. It's from the looks of things, a lot of critics are having a problem with the movie and the fact that it's too much nudity and just doesn't have the feel of the previous Hood films. Number 7, new entry for Hell or High Water. You've seen this, I haven't. Yeah, and I really want to see what you think, because this is a film that I think is going to be definitely my top 5. Possibly my top 2 of the year. I'm already saying that. It's impressively done. Great direction from I forget the name of the director who did Style Up, and he's basically just done an amazing job with this. It's a story that's written as well by the writer of Prisoners. No, was it Prisoners? I don't know. It is now. I had it written down somewhere and I've lost it. But it's an extremely well written, character driven drama thriller with these two brothers played by Chris Pine and Ben Foster, who play brilliantly as brothers on the screen. And then you have these two sheriffs that are sort of trying to find them and chasing these after they're doing these bank robberies. And Jeff Bridges with his partner, and the relationship between them is brilliant and well written, great dialogue, great sort of scenes between the two, and it's compelling. It's a compelling it's compelling drama thriller, because it's not really got action, but it's got a couple of bits. But it's extremely entertaining film. I definitely intend to try and see it again. Just there's so many things I've got to catch up on. I don't think I'm going to get a chance, but I really, really love this film. It's from the director of Sicario. The director of Sicario. So writer of Sicario, yeah. And director of Start Up and writer of Sicario, yeah. I mean, if you've seen Sicario, you know how that's kind of gritty and dark, and there are kind of
unlikable characters in it. They're not so unlikable in this, but there's still those aspects to it. It's got similarities, but it's definitely a film I would say have a look at. And if you're prepared to go in and think it's going to be an action film, it's not. You think it's going to be a big film, or anything, it's not. It's a very, very subtle film, and I like it. It's one reviewer, Mark Commode, said on it that he was, I don't think he said it, someone else said it, that it's the kind of film they don't make anymore, and it's true. It's a good film. Number 6, this is another one still hanging around for a while, Finding Dory.
Yeah, it just keeps swimming. It's a very intelligent kids animated film, very well, nicely animated. Not as good as Finding Nemo, but it's such a high bar to actually achieve to anywhere. It's still really good.
Yeah. Number 5, new entry for Kubo and the Two Strings.
I reviewed it last week. You have seen the film.
Yeah. I gotta say, I really, as much as you absolutely kind of gushed about it and loved it, I didn't love it as much as you did, but I did love it. I really got into it, and the thing I was really impressed with, and I actually said to someone not long after seeing it, was the thing that really surprised me. I was watching it, and I know it's obviously a Leica animation, it's done with stop motion. There's even the sequence at the end of it which shows you them doing the stop motion thing, and just shows what goes into it. And there's so many sequences. There was several times during the film I was so into it and got into it, I completely forgot I was watching a stop motion animation film. It's absolutely beautifully done. It's got some great kind of storytelling aspects, some great vocal performances in there. It's funny, it's witty, it's got some fantastic sort of action sequences in it, and it's a great kids film. It's kind of dark for a kids film. It's surprising. It is rated PG, but I would say probably consider not taking anyone under the age of maybe 8 to see it, because they probably get a bit worried by it. But I really thought it was good as well.
Yeah, as I alluded to last week, in The Guardian, you had to actually do 2 reviews of it, because the original review, this is just taking the snippet from the Metacritic thing, said little kids will be bored as there are only a few scenes with any action, and of those, only one, featuring an enormous skeleton with swords sticking out of its skull, has any oomph. Now, that review was done a little while ago. It had to be re-reviewed, the film itself, because if you look at the comments on that review, the person who wrote it got an amazing amount of hate. He honestly got you need to read the review as well, and the review is a very childish, really badly written review, which makes you question how did The Guardian, or why did The Guardian even publish it? Because I understand people are allowed their own opinions, but when you've got an opinion that can barely back up what he's actually trying to put across, it just seems a really childish way to actually dig into the film. And the movie, I think, is absolutely brilliant. But and it's not my dig at The Guardian, the person who did the review on The Guardian. But honestly, they do need to question their reviewers a little bit. If a review like that is going to get so much hate as it has, just go out and have a little look at the review itself, because it's really badly done. It's a really badly written review.
Number where are we? 4 is Bad Mums.
Yeah, not as bad as I was expecting it to be. When you see these kind of trailers and the alarm bells start to ring, where it's just 3 mums who decide to go, you know what, I'm sick of all these chains that are attached to me. I'm just going to actually branch out a little bit and enjoy life while my kids are at school.
Would that be the Judd Apatow alarm?
Yeah, and no, it's not just the Judd Apatow alarm, it's those kind of alarms which ring when you see the trailer makes it out to be a gross-out comedy, when in fact it's got much more intelligence attached to it than just the gross-out humour in it. That's there, but at least it's used sparingly, and at least the actresses know how to actually make you laugh. It's not a Bridesmaids kind of film, it's not a Hangover kind of film. I just think this movie is a step in the right direction for this kind of comedy.
Number 3, new entry for Don't Breathe.
Yeah, it's a step up for Fede Alvarez, considering I had problems with his reboot of the Evil Dead series. The best thing about that movie was the last 15 minutes. That's where he showed intelligence. It's just the rest was in the trailer, and it was just all about gore. Now, I absolutely love gore in movies, but you need some context somewhere. In Don't Breathe, he's made a much more intelligent, stripped-back thriller that has a few problems, specifically one where he just pushes the boundary a bit too far, considering before he actually released the movie, he said he wanted to tone down the violence, yet he includes a scene where you say to yourself, you could have just alluded to that. You didn't even need to show it. And the last third, a lot of people would think, what was the point of actually trying to build up tension when you're just going to just say, you know what, I'm just going to throw a ton of violence at the screen. For me, though, the film actually did work, and it is his better of the two.
New entry as well at number 2 for Ben-Hur.
Yeah, it's half the running time of the original Ben-Hur movie, well, the 1960s Ben-Hur movie, and it's a million times boring. Even when the chariot scene appears, sort of shot quite well, it's a snowfest. It can't see a lackluster movie like this, and it's another Tamir Bekmambetov boring movie. He's a director who showed a lot of promise, and he's just gone and flushed that down the toilet.
I'll tell you what it is. I think it is because I was actually tweeting with someone about this, another reviewer about this, and they agreed with what I said basically. And my view in it is that the whole thing of because I watched in the same weekend this Ben-Hur and the 1959 Ben-Hur, which is 3 and 3.75 hours long. And the issue with it is the original one, the reason that you get into it more and you care by the end of it is because you actually care about the character. The reason for that is because of the length of the film. It's a good twice the length of time you spend with the character, getting to know the characters before then tragedy strikes and things go wrong and they end up, becoming a slave and things. And that is basically what makes it an effort. I don't actually think that the original one is an especially brilliantly well written film by sort of average standards. I think it's just that it was kind of epic for the time, and it did a great job at the time. I don't think it's a bad film. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying I think that the story is not the epic kind of story thing that it is kind of made out to be. And so I think the problem is then with the new one having been made into a 2-hour film, that you don't get that time spent with the characters to actually engage with them, and so when things start to happen you just don't care and you just switch off. And even when the action sequences are done, which there's 2 sequences in it that are done really well. The boat sequences with a battle at sea, and then you have the chariot race, and they're competently, solidly, stunt workly done. Just that you don't care because it's just stunt work. It's like that effects film Skyline. It's just the characters are horrible. You don't care about them. You're not interested. You're watching an effects reel, and it's the same thing with this. It's a stunt action reel film. There's no character sort of to speak of because you're just bored of them.
Worst thing though about Skyline is it took the directors from Alien vs Predator Requiem. So actually, not the directors, the people who worked on the special effects in Alien vs Predator Requiem.
Yeah. It's basically they made an hour and a half demo reel of their effects work.
A very good one at that.
So of course the number 1 movie, surprisingly no change from last week, Sausage Party.
Yeah, the chances of being at number 1 when the new chart comes out later on tomorrow afternoon or Wednesday is absolutely zero.
Where do you think it'll be in the chart? Do you think it'll drop down quite a bit, or do you think it'll still be top 5?
I think it would probably be around about the 4th spot, because I think that the film Blair Witch, what we're reviewing in a moment, I think that's going to be number 2. Number 3. Well, I think Bridget Jones's Baby is going to be number 1.
Yeah, we know that's going to be number 1. We're not reviewing it. We haven't seen it. To be honest, we don't care because we haven't seen the other ones.
I think it's made somewhere in the region around about 27 million worldwide, and I think a lot of that is going to be in the UK. So that's obviously going to be the number 1 movie. But Sausage Party has done brilliantly for itself, considering the kind of movie that it is and what the age group that it's aimed at. It's stupid, over the top, insane animated film with a last 10 minutes which is just absolutely preposterous, and it makes the scene in Team America World Police look really tame.
I would actually say that it touched upon vile, in my opinion.
It does. See, Seth Rogen should know where the boundaries of taste and decency is. He looks at that boundary and just goes, you know what, I'm rubbing that out. So he rubs out that boundary and just creates his own, because like I said, there is a section which is just questions what goes through the people's brains when they animated that or created that. And lo and behold, you had the trouble with the animators not being paid, and now they supposedly have been paid from different companies rather than the company who hired them, and now those are getting sued for money back. So we're not going to see a Sausage Party 2. But it's fine. It's fine. It's the best you're going to get out of it. Right, let's move on to the new releases of the week. I always love weeks when I get easy movies to describe, because these are the kind of films where you don't want to give very much details away. So first up is Blair Witch. It's directed by Adam Wingate. Now this movie sort of like smacked horror fans across the face, because it was originally called The Woods. It was shown at a festival earlier on in this year, around about March, as The Woods as well. So there was a full version of The Woods already done. Then, about a month and a half ago, it was revealed at Comic-Con that the movie itself had went through a few changes. And then, lo and behold, it was revealed that it became the third in the Blair Witch series. So the story goes, it's set around about 17, 18 years after the first Blair Witch movie. The brother of the original character in the first one he's come across a movie on YouTube about the tape that's been discovered from the first Blair Witch in the Burkittsville forests, and it's up to him with a sort of like a small little crew to go out and investigate it, whether he can find his sister again. Here's a clip.
Temp narration, take 1. Take 2, 3. When James was 4 years old, his older sister disappeared while making a documentary near the town of Burkittsville, Maryland. The final moments of it showed her going into a house, seemingly within the Black Hills Forest. That area was extensively searched by police and FBI, but they could find no evidence of an existing house in those woods. For as long as I've been friends with James, he's wondered what happened to her. His continued search to find closure and answers to his sister's disappearance is the subject of this documentary.
So the film itself follows pretty much the same kind of tact as the 1999 Blair Witch Project. Can't believe it came out in '99.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I remember, I actually did see it at the cinema, except for the last 10 minutes.
I did as well. 17 years ago when that film came out. It's actually aged pretty good as well. It's still a really good watch now. Now, the thing with this Blair Witch, directed by Adam Wingate, it's a movie where you can see now somebody is hating me for this, but it's what I believe anyway. It's a movie that seems to have had the Blair Witch story pushed into it. It's a movie that, if you watch it, you can see where the Blair Witch story and backstory has been stitched into the movie itself. You can take that out and you've got a much more interesting found footage horror film. Without the Blair Witch name, I think this movie would have worked better. It hasn't done as well in the US as it was expecting it to. As a matter of fact, the director took to Twitter and just sort of like went, who cares? The movie has made back its budget. It's very much nearly going to make back its advertising budget. People deem it as a flop. I deem that as a success. So at least he's actually taken it with a pinch of salt. The film itself does work. It has got the tension there. But like I said, it's just the Blair Witch name which is its problem. It's the Blair Witch name which is sort of like bringing it down. I think the film should have stayed as The Woods. Because my guess is Lionsgate saw The Woods, and I think they were distributing it as well. They saw the full version of it and went, we've got a really good film here. What can we do that supposedly could bring a bigger audience to it? And then they realised they had the Blair Witch license and went, let's strap that into it. Get the director to go back, film some extra scenes, stitch that into there, change a few scenes around, and make it a third film in the Blair Witch series. And that's its biggest problem. It's got some really well created set pieces. It's got some really good creepy scenes in it. It's not scary. Honestly, trust me, again, I think it's just because of the fact that I'm a hardened horror fan, but it's not scary. I am sick of seeing these trailers where you see cameras pointed on audience members who are hiding behind their coats, who are hiding behind their jumpers, who are screaming, crying, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, that's staged, that's beyond staged, and it's become laughable now. It's actually making a mockery of horror fans. It's just I get really annoyed when I see those kind of ones, just as much as there's a film getting shown in festivals at the moment called Raw, where it's indicating that a lot of people are supposedly fainting. I don't think that's the case. It's just you've actually got people in to the screening who are very squeamish of that kind of stuff, and so obviously they're going to react that way. If you're a hardened horror fan, you would not faint at a cannibal movie. If you're a big, huge horror fan, you would not feel really scared watching something like Blair Witch. So it is creepy. It's very well shot. It's very well created. It's just not a Blair Witch movie. It is The Woods.
Okay, The Infiltrator, which is directed by Brad Furman, is based on the book by Robert Mazur, which is the character in the story, played by Bryan Cranston. It's a film that's based on true events, set in 1980s, when you have a US customs agent, played by Cranston, is a guy who goes around sort of involved in these basically like these setups and stings where they capture people trying to smuggle drugs, and things seem to be going fine for them, but it's not really having any kind of big effect. What he does is he starts putting things together and realizing, well, you know, what we could do is we could actually have a lot more impact if, instead of just dealing with the drugs as they came in, if we actually went after the money and we actually went to try and catch the people who were involved with the whole thing and basically set up a big sting for them. Cue this, you have he's dealing all this, doing it all with the people that he works with. You have John Leguizamo is in the film as one of his colleagues who he's not entirely trustable with, because he basically is kind of a loose cannon, almost kind of a adrenaline junkie who does the kind of the police sting thing because he kind of gets off on it. And Cranston's character is married and has kids, and of course is still having to potentially put all this on the line in order to basically make a change, make an effect on things, and including things such as there's problems that they come across to do with things like the banking situation, speaking to bankers that are potentially corrupt and helping them to smuggle money through. Here's a clip.
Dano says Don Chepe's $10 million is frozen, which is actually Pablo Escobar's money, and he doesn't give a rat's ass that our government did it. He wants his money, and it's not going to be over until he gets it.
There's a Senate investigation into Noriega. You're not getting money that went through Panama. Frozen is frozen. Accept it.
Mark, it's f***ing up our operation.
We need you to fix this for us.
How am I going to fix this? You want me to call Senator Kerry? Hey, John, could you drop your investigation that the president has sanctioned? Because my friend Bob's getting really upset. Reagan wants Noriega's ass. Are you listening to me?
Hey, you know what Alcaino said? That's not an answer that keeps you alive, my friend. Okay?
Hey, what did he say that for? No, wait a second. Hold on. Did he threaten you?
No.
Did he put your neck in the noose?
Yeah, and he's squeezing.
No, he didn't. Roberto didn't say that. He wouldn't say that.
It's Escobar.
No, wait a second. Bob, are you in danger from Pablo Escobar if his money doesn't come through?
So you heard in that clip there as well, Jason Isaacs, who is that's basically the one major scene that he's in. He has a sort of small other bit early on. That's it. You have in there as well. I completely forget names now again as well. I will find the name in a second.
John Leguizamo?
John Leguizamo, who I've mentioned already, and I'm actually having to look through my screen for the name. I've completely lost it. Diane Kruger in there as well, who's brought in as another agent who's basically volunteering to pretend to be his fiancée, as part of this whole elaborate sting thing that's going on. You have here you have basically one of these films that's based on a true story, people smuggling drugs and smuggling the money and doing all that. And the thing is that it's a film that has nothing exceptional about it, nothing that you haven't seen before and stuff, nothing that it brings anything new to the table, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's a perfectly fine drama, and the thing I would say that it is worth seeing for is, first of all, Bryan Cranston. The man is just an acting powerhouse. There's nothing you can put him in, even put him in a terrible film and he's brilliant. But this isn't a terrible film, this is a good film, and he's fantastic in it. And the thing is, him working with other people, you have in there, like we said, John Leguizamo. John Leguizamo is one of those actors who you see in a lot of things and you just kind of, oh, how's this guy still got a career? Because of roles in films like this, and because of the fact of that he can, when challenged with a good actor, can also give a good performance, and he does in this. Amy Ryan pops up as a smaller role as well, and it's perfectly fine. As I said, Diane Kruger is in there as well. You have Benjamin, I think it's Benjamin Bratt, I can't remember his name. He's really good in the film as one of the kind of the drug lords that's going on, and you have the whole thing of the typical thing of going back to, you see his wife and the conflict between him and his wife. You see the whole thing of him conflicted with, working and doing that, and it's nothing we haven't seen before, but because it's Bryan Cranston, it's like, oh, Bryan Cranston, sit up, pay attention. You're watching a Bryan Cranston performance, and you know it.
Kel, I don't have enough time to actually go to the cinema to see very many films because I'm stupidly busy, so I don't think I'll get to see this before the end of the year, so we'll just wait until early next year for me seeing this.
It's not going to be in my top 10 films of the year, I don't think. But just purely because of the fact that it's just that there are things that I think have been better and more stand out. It's a perfectly good film. It's the one thing I would say about it actually is it's 2 hours and 7 minutes long. It could have done with being shorter.
Yeah. Well, on to the final film in the cinema section is The Hunt for the Wilderpeople. It's actually pronounced Wilderpeople as well, or Wilderpeople, depending on where you're from. But I'll pronounce it as Wilderpeople just because I want to be awkward. It's directed by Taika Waititi, and he did What We Did in the Shadows. He's also directing the new Thor film, Thor Ragnarok, which is a bit of a different ballpark compared to what this movie is about. It's a small little movie from New Zealand, and it centers around the role of the character anyway of Ricky, played by Julian Dennison, who's sort of like a 12-year-old boy who's passed between different families. He is then put into the care of two people, specifically his uncle Heck, played by Sam Neill, and his wife, and sort of like brought up to live on a farm. Unfortunately, a bad thing happens to Heck's wife, which then sort of supposedly puts Ricky into Heck's care. However, that's not the case. They both have to go on the run because Ricky thinks that he's going to get put back into care or ultimately put into juvenile, and he doesn't want that. So the only thing they can think of is to actually survive out in the wild. Here's a clip.
Come on, give me some bars so I can communicate with the outside world.
Ricky, take a look at this.
Oh, Uncle, we're famous! Hector Faulkner, 65, and Richard Baker, 13, have been missing now for 6 weeks. Faulkner is Caucasian. Well, they got that wrong because you're obviously white. There is a fear for Faulkner's mental health following the recent death of his wife. Police are not ruling out kidnapping. Kidnapping? Park rangers have been alerted for anyone seeing the pair should report back to the nearest police station. Oh, Uncle, you're basically a criminal now. But on the bright side, you're famous.
I think I'm crazy.
And Asian.
And it is just about their survival in there. They actually survived for quite a few months, very close to a year, as a matter of fact. Now, that clip there gives you the sort of like feeling of what the film is like. It's a movie that has its humorous elements to it, but it's also a movie that's not afraid to explore its dramatic side as well. There are a few sort of like heart-tugging moments in the movie, but there is a lot of humor, especially from Julian Dennison. The first time I've actually seen him in a film, and
he's got great comical timing.
Yeah, it's a movie that you will either fall for it or you'll just find it quite annoying, and I actually fell for it. I just don't know why, but I watched this on probably the perfect day to see this film, which is a Sunday afternoon. It's the kind of day where your mind is a bit more relaxed, and so you're more attuned to taking a much more simplistic film, but a much more a movie where it has got its perfect elements mixed together. So the comedy is very well mixed together with the drama, and it's very well directed as well, and very nicely shot and brilliantly acted. And so I fell for the film. It washed over me. It felt like a really nice movie to watch. It wasn't too challenging to watch. There was some moronic characters in there, especially the child service agent who was constantly trying to hunt for Ricky. She is just an absolute nut job. She thinks that she is the ultimate person. There is a brilliant conversation, a Terminator conversation between her and Ricky, where she says that she's the Terminator and Ricky is Sarah Connor, and they have a little bickering between each other across a gap where she's trying to actually get him back. And it's just those kind of little small elements of the movie which just really works. I have not seen What We Do in the Shadows, but if
you
this
need
is
to
how,
see that. You do need to see that.
If this is how Taika Waititi or TT or Tai directs these movies, then I'm really looking forward to the new Thor film, because I think he's going to bring something to the Marvel Universe that we've not seen before. And yeah, I really liked Hunt for the Wilderpeople or Wilderpeople.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it either. And the thing is, it's great. I mean, the thing is, you hear in that clip there, it's kind of like a lot of the humor is this kind of ignorance humor, but it's funny. It's never done in a way that it kind of feels mean-spirited or horrible, or it never feels as if it's actually taking the mickey out of people or being offensive. It's just basically having a character saying a stupid thing because they haven't thought about it before they say it, and that's largely what the humour is of the film. But then you have these other characters that pop up and just, again, it's moronic stupidity, but it's just funny, and it's kind of a sweet film as well at the same time. And you have this whole thing of the two of them, the boy and Sam Neill's character, sort of the two of them thrown into a situation together. That's kind of, it just comes together very nicely.
Yeah, it's a really nicely made movie. And that's it for the cinema section. We'll be back in a moment with the home release section.
From page to screen. So they have 9 times out of 10 they have to send it back to you unopened or just throw it in the garbage can.
Things don't always look exactly as we envision our life to look, but sometimes it works out and turns out even better.
Gregor Fisher, his bacon number is 2 because he was appeared with January Jones in Love Actually, and January Jones and Kevin Bacon appeared in X-Men First Class together.
I've got to say, the very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas, now that just makes me want to rush out.
It's about the acting and about the writing. That's really what theatre is for me.
Probably had more names than Prince or whatever. Never mind, there's a joke for the oldies. It'd be like, who's Prince? Who's he? I'd just like to see Mr. Freeze hiring his bad guys, going, right, okay, so you're a psycho, right, can you ice skate? Head over to iTunes, Spreaker and Stitcher and put in the search box From Page to Screen.
Right, welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show. As you can tell, I have the power. I feel like He-Man. I just need the sword.
You're not getting a sword. You're not getting a sword. We don't have the budget for it.
Well, can I not just have like a small little one? Just a plastic one, the kind of thing that you find on holiday where it costs like £1.50.
I've got one of them here, actually. I've got a lightsaber sword thing. I did bring it on holiday for me.
I've got a minion. Does that count?
There were no minions in actually, no, there probably were minions in Masters of the Universe, weren't there?
Yeah, I've got a light up minion that's staring me right in the face, which is a bit scary. So
does it look like Skeletor when the lights are out?
No, it's the one-eyed minion, and he's really scaring me. So on the home release section of this week's show, we're looking at these films.
We have Green Room, A Hologram for the King, Friend Request, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, Everybody Wants Some, The Daughter, Abattoir, and Despite the Falling Snow.
Blu-ray DVD top 10 first.
Yeah.
Before we get into it.
What didn't make it?
Yeah, what didn't make it was only one film, because we only looked at a couple of films on last week's show. It was only 3 films. It was I Saw the Light, and it only went in at number 35.
Yeah, I just don't think there was either enough call for it or enough publicity for it. And I didn't hate it. I just, unless you're a Hank Williams fan, I don't think it's going to be. Hank Williams? No.
Yeah.
Hank Williams, yeah. Unless you're a Hank Williams fan, it's probably not even going to be on your radar, to be honest, or a big Tom Hiddleston fan.
Yeah, and I think next week we might have a couple of the films that we're looking at on this week's show.
Oh, yes.
Not in the top 100 at all.
Well, I think there'll be a couple that will be up near the top. Not necessarily at the top, but near.
So it's nice to actually have a week where we've got quite a few films to review, because over the last few weeks it's been very slim pickings.
Yep. But anyway, number 10 is Huntsman Winter's War. What is wrong with me?
I think it might have been a better film if it was called Huntsman Kinter's War. It's
a character called Kinter.
Yeah, it's a bad movie. Just get it out of the top 10.
Yeah, making a dramatic rise up the list is number 9's The Lady in the Van.
I'm surprised that it's gone on the top, back into the top 10. My guess is there's either a lack of movies out, new ones, or a lot of old people have seen it for a cheap enough price and they thought, yep, I'll get that. Because that's it. That's the audience that it's aimed at, and that's the audience that it suits.
Yep.
No offense to them.
Even more maddeningly, going up again as well, from number 13 to 8, is London Has Fallen.
They do realise that it's a really, really bad film. Just because it's got Gerard Butler in it doesn't mean that you're going to be watching something really interesting or really explosive or anything. You're watching something that'll make you go, I need to return this. Where's the receipt?
Yeah, it's awful. Number 7 is Zootropolis.
Yeah, we alluded to in the box office top 10 that it had an increase of 3,600% at last week's chart. So well done for it to do that. It's a really good film.
Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice at number 6.
Said absolutely everything we can. I still stick by the fact that both the ultimate cut and the theatrical cut pretty much feel the same to me.
I disagree. Number 5, a new entry for Our Kind of Traitor.
Yeah, this surprised me because I thought it was going to be a thriller that's sort of like quite bog standard, when in fact it's much more intelligent than it makes it out to be. It's got some really good performances in it, very well created, very well made as well.
Number 4 is The Flash complete second season, so it's TV.
I haven't even seen a single episode. I think I watched the clip that had Mark Hamill in it as a bad guy. Wasn't he a bad guy in last season?
He was in an episode, yeah.
And I think I saw like a clip involving him and that's the best I've seen of Flash.
It's not an outstanding episode. Number 3, new entry for Bad Neighbours 2.
Again, not as bad as I expected it to be. It's a sequel that's on par with the original one. Uses a lot of jokes from that. It has pretty much about the same laugh amount as the first one is. It's not as mean-spirited as the first one because it's got a few nice little moments in it where you think to yourself, well done for actually doing that. And so overall, it's fine.
Number 2 is The Jungle Book.
Yep, hanging on in there as well, swinging through the trees, being a very well-made live-action version of a Disney animated classic.
So, of course, number 1 still, Captain America Civil War.
Or Avengers, featuring Captain America and his Civil War, because that's what it feels like. It feels like an Avengers movie, it doesn't feel like a Captain America movie. It's got a ton of characters in it, and that's not the most Marvel characters you will see in a Marvel movie until we get to see Infinity War or Infinite War or Infinite Warfare or whatever you want to call the next film. It's supposedly got more than 50 characters in it, and I think that film is going to be like 7 hours long.
Can we call the next film Steve?
Yeah, we'll just call it Steve. It'll make it easier for me to actually, and then walking up to this and say, can I have one for Avengers Infinite Warfare, Infinity War, in Infinite War, or whatever you want to call it?
You mean Steve?
Yeah, can I have one for Steve?
Yeah.
That just sounds really dodgy as well anyway. But on the new releases, DVD-wise, Green Room. This was a movie that you were constantly pushing me to try and see.
Yeah.
But it just escaped the box office and it escaped cinemas before I had a chance to go and see it. It's directed by Jeremy Solner, who did...
Blue Ruin.
Yeah, Blue Ruin. That was the film. I wasn't a fan of Blue Ruin when I first saw it. I hadn't seen it previously. I do actually need to go back.
Yeah, I do think you need to go back and look at it again.
Yeah, because I don't think I was in the right frame of mind when watching it. I don't like reviewing films when I'm not in the right frame of mind, and so I watched Green Room just recently, and like I said, it's directed by Jeremy Solner. It's got a very simple premise. It centers around, it's in the Pacific Northwest, and it centers around a teenager called Pat, who's played by the previous deceased, unfortunately, Anton Yelchin, and his rock band, his punk rock band. They go from nightclub to small little clubs to try and play their music, their interesting take on music. And unfortunately, they don't get the sort of like crowds that they want. They're then told that there is a small little place where they can play. They don't go down very well at this place because neo-Nazis, punks and stuff like that do not mix, and the kind of music that they're actually trying to sort of like come across to them is making things even worse. When Pat decides to go back to the dressing room where one of the members has left their mobile phone, he discovers a really bad discovery which ultimately turns their night from slightly nightmarish to an absolute living hell, thanks to the lead in Patrick Stewart. Here's a clip.
Looks like we tripped our main. Backup Jenny's fired. I bet we're gonna have to call it a day. Do some troubleshooting. We'll try again on Sunday. No door charge. Hell, free drinks from 2 to 4. those of you attending the racial advocacy workshop on Wednesday, assume it's on unless you hear otherwise. And remember, this is a movement, not a party. All right. Stay safe.
So when the film came out, it caused a bit of controversy because it's a movie that has its extreme moments in it. There are a few specific scenes which they are quite graphic. I remember listening to again Mark Kermode's review of it, and he did say they are quite sort of like you just cringe at what's going on. And I think you said that as well, didn't you?
Yeah, it's an 18 and it doesn't shy away from it. It really goes full on, and it's genuinely, there's a couple of moments where you're just like, ooh. And I mean, when I saw it at the cinema, I was lucky to see actually a preview, and it was a filled out preview. At one point a couple walked out, and not because of the film being bad, but genuinely because of the fact I think it was just actually too much for them. But there were people in the cinema at times where there was a couple of moments in particular when there was a genuine, the audience were just and you know, you get those reactions, and this film kind of relishes in a couple or a few scenes in particular of getting those out of the audience and basically going, oh yeah, you don't like that, well look at this sort of thing.
Well, yeah. My thoughts on the film, Laura, is if you remember about 5 months ago I reviewed a film called Bone Tomahawk when it was released in the cinema, and you reviewed it on Blu-ray and DVD.
Yeah.
And the last 10-15 minutes of the film is quite extreme, isn't it? There is one specific scene in that last 10-15 minutes which you got Bone Tomahawk pretty much its 18 rating certificate. And I was told that scene was quite graphic and so hard to watch by Stuart and Lauren on the horror show that I do with them, and I watched it and thought, you know what, it's not as extreme as I was expecting it to be. I'd seen much more extreme, and I sort of had the same kind of feeling with Green Room.
Really?
I knew that there were some really bad scenes in the film, and I heard that there are scenes in the film which make you sort of like cringe, and I don't know what the heck is wrong with me. I think I might actually need to see a psychiatrist or something. But I got to the end of the film and I thought to myself, where's these extreme scenes? Where's the absolute cringe-worthy nastiness? And I can see where a lot of people can wince at a few scenes, but I just didn't find the film cringy enough. I didn't find the film, this again might be my sick side, but I didn't feel like the film went far enough. I think there are times when the film could have pushed the boundaries a lot more than it had. Now, that's not saying that the film was bad, because it's not. It's very tense. It's very creepy at times, very eerie at times as well. This sort of like can give a lot of horrors released this year a run for its money, and it's not a horror. It's a thriller, and it's really malevolent. Even just you look at Patrick Stewart's character, he's so maligned and so laid back. Every single time he's on screen, you're thinking to yourself, he's going to do something really bad. He's about to flip. You can see that he's about to flip, and he doesn't, and it makes you scared even more. It makes you tense for the characters involved in it. Really good performances by Anton Yelchin, Imogen Poots as well. Very well created characters, very well acted, very well shot. It's got a grimy, nasty, dingy feel to it. It goes on just a tiny bit too much at the end. It feel like it could have been cut by about 5-10 minutes, but that's one of my only quibbles with the movie. My main quibble is, where's the extremeness of it? But this is coming from a person who's seen the uncut version of a Serbian film, so I think I'm completely desensitized to violence in movies and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I can see where a lot of people had a few problems with the film itself. I didn't in the extreme stuff. I wanted more. But overall, I really did like this film, and it's definitely making me want to go back and watch his previous film. Yeah,
and I agree. Patrick Stewart is absolutely fantastic. I mean, and Anton Yelchin definitely as well. Imogen Poots, I will agree. I actually thought it was a good performance from her, because she's not been an actress to win me over a lot recently, but I thought she was good in this as well. And the thing is that Patrick Stewart's character is so just it's a brilliant twist on that kind of character being normally played, who goes gets angry and has outbursts and that, or has this silent side to them, and it doesn't work. He's very, very, very subdued and subtle, and it's very, very different. I actually remember seeing when it came out, there was an interview with him, with Patrick Stewart, about the film, and him talking about when he first read the script and why he signed on to it, basically because he read the script and it was a complete page turner. He couldn't stop. He was like completely gripped with it, and I can totally believe it. If it was well written as it has been filmed and shot, then I can totally believe that and understand that.
He didn't even need to speak. He could have just sat down and went, twinkle, twinkle, and you would have gone, I got a god.
You would have got
a bag,
creep down your back.
Give me an oxygen mask, something like that.
Okay, on to Hologram for the King, which is written and directed by Tom Tykwer. It is based on a novel by Dave Eggers. It is a drama following the character of Alan, played by Tom Hanks, who basically is a guy who's everything's kind of failing in his life. He's a salesman who's not really doing well. He's sent on a sales rep job to Saudi Arabia by his boss, who basically says if you don't go out there and make a sale, you're kind of not going to be employed anymore. He works at this company that deals with a hologram communication system, and he's going out there to try and sell the king of Saudi Arabia on this. The only problem is when he finally gets to the complex, which is there, that's been in the middle of being built, this big sort of area which is being planned for development, and there's sort of half-built buildings and big areas of wasteland there. There is, amongst all other things, a kind of one big finished building, which is where all of the diplomats and everyone is kind of working, and there is a tent where he finds the rest of his staff there who are trying to work in, well, no air conditioning systems, no food, no other thing really. They're just kind of stuck in a big tent. Here's a clip.
King is not coming today, so you guys can just relax.
Shouldn't we call corporate and let them know the conditions here are untenable?
No, Brad, we should wait until I talk to Kareem Alamad at 3 o'clock.
Do you know why we're not in that building?
Well, maybe all the vendors are in here. And maybe we're just the first.
Kind of weird being Reliant than being out here.
It's a brand new city. It's uncharted territory, and we are the trailblazers.
Where are we supposed to eat?
Guys, come on! We are in the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, with the deserts and the camels and the sheiks and the tents.
Oh my God! Oh. Are you okay?
Yeah. Don't you know they can only kill me with a golden bullet? Golden bullet, you get it? It's Lawrence of Arabia.
Who?
So, the thing with Hologram for the King is it's a weird thing to say, but that clip kind of says it all. It's a great example of what is wrong with the film, and that is that it's a film that it doesn't make direct references like that, doesn't, by name, but it's basically a film that feels all the way through it as if it is referencing to other films. And the thing is, it's films that you and me would maybe understand, but it's a film that was aimed at a 12 rating audience, which we'll get to on our issues with that in a moment. But it's a film that was aimed at a 12 teen audience members. And the thing is that it's not poking fun, it's making homages in ways to previous films. But the thing is that the audiences that it's being aimed at will not get these references. They will not get the whole thing of it, the references to... I mean, there's references to things like sort of society and partying and stuff like that, but it's not actually directly done. And it's got references to the whole thing of the war and issues in Saudi Arabia and all that kind of thing, going back to it. And it's got references to the whole the religious issues over there that are going on and stuff as well, but it never actually kind of says anything about them. It never makes any reference directly to them. It just basically goes, oh, we're talking about this now, but it's there, it's something you don't need to worry about, but you know what we're talking about. And there'll be people in the audience that are older, they'll go, yeah, I'll get what you're talking about. I don't really think it's relevant, but I get it. And there'll be other people in the audience that are under 20 going, what? And they just want to get a clue. It's a drama which has things going on for this character that just after a while, the number of things happening to the character and the number of things changing and going on, and you can see it's trying to show change in the character, but the problem is the way it does it. It doesn't make sense. The character doesn't make sense. The character is completely flip-flopping one side to the other. The character, I think, is very poorly written. I don't think it's a bad performance from Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks, I think, is the only thing that's actually kind of holding it together. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad direction from Tom Tykwer, because I do think Tom Tykwer is a good director. I just think that he's maybe trying to adapt a book here that he either doesn't get it, he's not interested in it that much, and because he's written the screenplay, but I don't think that he's got the book. I don't know the book. I could be wrong. The book could be a perfect adaptation of it, and that the book is just bad. But the film just feels as if it has no idea where it's going. And as much as that, to an effect, is part of what the character's issue is, it shouldn't be what the film's issue is. The film should have an idea, know where it's going, and show you where the character is going. And that is, for me, why it's a complete and utter mess, basically. It's a film, going back to the rating issue, you and I discussed this in the cinema release versions. We both saw it at the cinema. And it's a film that is it's a 12 rating. I'm not sure if they have maybe uprated it on DVD and Blu-ray, but I don't think they have. And it's a film that has a graphic scene of somebody snorting drugs, and also has a scene of topless female nudity involving swimming and underwater footage, and it's clearly underwater. It's clear. It's not that it's hidden or anything or shot in a particular way. And any other film that would have had either of those would have been given a 15 at the minimum. And this film had the both of them and just gave away. It's a small niggling issue, but the thing is, it's one of those things that you're watching the film and you go, oh, this is a 12, why is that in there? Well, it's in there because I noticed it, and the film is terrible, and I'm going, oh, hang on a minute, why is this in the film? It should be a 15, or it shouldn't have 12. And you've lost it. The film's lost you, that's it.
Yeah, it's a movie that it's got a really good performance from Tom Hanks. It's just a pity that the movie's sort of like inside is just not that good. It's not very well handled. It's not interesting enough. It tries to actually add interesting tones to the film, but they just never seem to hit. No matter how hard Hanks is trying, you could see his exasperations on his face. You could see that he wants a much more intelligent movie surrounding his very interesting character, but it's just a movie that never feels like it fits what's going on. It feels like what the director has done is found a really lovely place to shoot a movie, and he's got a really good source material, and he's got a really good character. He just does not know how to bring the rest of the source material together with the character that he's got. It just feels like two different films. And so it's just too loose. It's not stitched together well, and it's not very interesting neither. It's got a sort of interesting premise. It's just is not a very interesting movie. It always feels like you're wondering, when is it going to finish? And it just never does. And when it gets to the last part of the film, you think, why didn't you just go down this route? That would have made a much more interesting, involving character study rather than what you've got on display here. And so overall, it's just a movie that it feels, despite a really good performance from Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Friends request then, and that's not an actual thing for me to actually say to people. I don't want any friends requests. Well, if you want to send me one, then it's fine. Very straightforward horror, directed by Simon Verhoeven. I checked, not a relation to Paul Verhoeven. The premise is very basic, bog standard. It involves things like Facebook. So we've had a sort of like a glut of these movies which involve social networks, even including Google Glass. Why somebody would want to use that, I just don't know. But in this case, it centres around Facebook. It centres around the popular girl of Laura at school. She ends up befriending this other girl who she sort of feels sorry for. She's an outcast. She's a person who gets picked on a lot. She doesn't get invited to parties and things like that. One day, however, she sort of like decides to delete her as a friend because she's become too creepy, constantly sending her messages going, can I come to the party? I bought you this, blah blah blah. The next year, when Laura gets into school, she discovers that the friend she has unfriended has killed herself, and bad things are starting to happen. Things pop up on her Facebook feed, which this clip will allude to.
So according to you, Miss Woodson, this video just magically appeared on your timeline this morning. Do I have that right?
Why would I do this?
There must be some reason this girl burned that picture of you.
Look, Laura, we know that you're a great student, but multiple students reported you harassing Marina.
No. She was the one harassing me. She was obsessed with me.
Laura, no one's saying it's your fault that Marina took her life.
We're looking into everything. But in the meantime, Laura, if you can't delete that video, you're gonna have to delete your profile.
And so, as you can probably guess by the tone, especially the music in the background, you know this is going to take a malevolent kind of feel. It's going to take a possession kind of stuff. The horror quiet bang kind of thing. Now, it's a movie that's got a really interesting premise. The premise of there are films out there like What Richard Did and You Want Me to Kill You, and movies like that which involve social networking but take a more serious route. Rather than take a horror route, it explores what it's like to be on the other end of bullying on places like Twitter and Facebook. And the first 20 minutes of the film works because it does that. Then it goes into horror territory and it completely loses the plot. It should have just stuck to its guns and the director should have looked at it and thought, I've got a really, could possibly be a sort of like a groundbreaking movie in a way for people that age to watch and look at how serious to take things on Facebook and Twitter, because they're open networks. Whatever you put on those networks, anybody can see. People can see it. So you're in thoughts. All of these stupid posts that you see on Facebook, these cry for helps, everything like that, people can see it. So that kind of premise is an interesting one to take in this kind of digital age. To then shoehorn in a horror element into it and a possession element at that, it just feels. So it's a 20-minute movie that's stretched to 95 minutes with horror in it that doesn't work, but has a decent enough premise to make you sort of go, I might as well just stick with it, because it just feels like the horror is just majorly tacked into it. Go and watch What Richard Did, or You, the letter U, Want Me To, the number 2, Kill You, letter U. I think it's on Netflix, that one. Go and watch that one. That's a British movie about cyberbullying, and it's a really well constructed film. This, unfortunately, isn't.
Okay, going on to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, which is written and directed by Glenn Ficarra and John Requa. It is an adaptation of the memoirs of Kim Barker, who was a news reporter in Afghanistan in the early 2000s, and went over to Afghanistan as someone completely not knowing anything sort of that kind of the side of the war and things that were going on there at the time, and having been in that kind of environment, she was basically someone who wrote the sort of the newspapers kind of food guide sort of comments and things like that, and decided, because of the fact of that there was something that happened, that she needed to go and make a change and do this. So of course ends up going out there, where she gets involved with all the other sort of the news people that are out there, meeting several of them, including a couple people, one of them played by Margot Robbie, who plays the main character, I didn't even say, played by Tina Fey, going out there too, and meets amongst them others, one played by Margot Robbie, and Martin Freeman playing another one, and basically getting on with them while going through all of the craziness that is Afghanistan during the war. Here's a clip.
We all have some reason for being here. What's your reason? What is yours? I don't have a good one. I'm just here. Come on. I was at the gym after work one night, and stationary bike. Okay, same bike every day. And I noticed this indentation in the carpet. It's like a foot in front of my bike. And I realized that it's from where my bike used to be. I have done thousands of miles on this bike. And I have gone backwards. I have literally gone backwards. I just wanted to blow everything up. I just wanted out of my job. I couldn't look at that carpet anymore. Well, that is officially the most American white lady story I've ever heard. Shut up.
So the thing with this is that it's a film that is it's a set around the whole thing of the war happening and people being killed and such, but it does have a dark kind of satirical commentary on the war and the people going out there for the purposes of getting news and such. I found that I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great kind of twist on the war film, and having the whole thing of the sort of the craziness that people get up to and the way that people react when they're in a war situation, even though they're not actual combatants and not involved in the war. And things like she goes to one place where women are not allowed, and so she goes dressed in the burqa. And wearing that, walking around with a camera underneath the burqa, and walks into a bit where women are not supposed to go at all, even wearing a burqa, and so ends up getting in well over her head. And she does it basically as part of the whole thing. They realise that she's kind of going a bit crazy and doing it for the thrill, and it's all that sort of stuff going on. So it has a kind of a serious side to it as well, but it's also quite dark humoured and dark natured at times, and I just thought it was all round really entertaining, really enjoyed it, and I thought it was a good kind of commentary on the craziness of war, and I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I just found at times that it didn't get its tone correct. It fleets and flirts between drama and comedy, and just at times it tries to bleed them together, and it just doesn't work. It's a really good performance from Tina Fey. I think this is some of her stronger acting. It's nice to actually see her branch out from comedy, and when she's given the chance to do some of the dramatic elements of the film, I think she handles them really well, and it's really well shot as well. It's got some nice cinematography, and I just think the tone is a bit loose and a bit over the place.
I thought it was quite well done, and I really enjoyed it to that. So.
Everybody Wants Some. It's directed by Richard Linklater, whose previous film was his sort of like magnum opus of sorts, Boyhood, which was shot over the period of 12 years. He was doing movies in between that, but he was constantly going back to Boyhood, and sort of like people look at Everybody Wants Some as sort of like being the same kind of feeling as Boyhood. It's set in the very early 80s, set in 1980, and it centers around Blake Jenner's character of Jake. He has joined a group of baseball players living in the same house as these baseball players, and the film itself just pretty much explores their life away from adults. It sees how they get on with life, how they can cope in sort of like the close quarters that they're with their buddies, their people, the same people on the same baseball team as them, how they go about in parties, how pretty much they handle themselves. Here's a clip.
Hello?
Hi. Is this the guy that left the flowers on my door?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you're the quiet guy in the backseat, Jake.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. It's the quote-unquote auburn-haired girl in 307.
That was just so there wouldn't be any confusion, but, wow, I'm glad you called. That was quick.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was the least I could do after you went to all that trouble. How did you know what room I was in?
I'm an investigative journalism major. I have very special ways.
So, I guess you know my name then?
Yes. As soon as you tell me.
Huh. Well, Jake, is so interesting because I feel like the investigative journalism is not an official major here, but my name is Beverly.
Hello, Beverly.
Hey.
And so the start of the film shows promise. You've got a sort of like Wayne's World Bohemian Rhapsody kind of scene, which involves Rapper's Delight. And so there's like 5 of the baseball players in a car, and Jake has just sort of like been introduced to them. And this is the first time he's actually out and about with them, and they're sort of like cruising for chicks. They're trying to pick up girls, which ultimately takes back to numerous kind of parties that they have at their house where they live. And so it shows, it establishes its tone. You can tell where the movie's actually going. The problem with the film is throughout the movie, you just think to yourself, you know what, I just don't want to spend any more time with these people. They're just boring. They're just not intelligent. They're not sort of like people I would actually hang around with. I wouldn't want to have a 5-minute conversation with them, never mind watch a 2-hour movie with them. And the movie was starting to push into that direction, whereas it started off quite promising. You were thinking to yourself, this Jake character might be an interesting one. He's sort of like timid and shy, but he could be an interesting character to follow. I wonder how he's sort of going to be able to build up his confidence. And I sort of like looked a little bit, sort of like saw myself a little bit in Jake's character, because myself, anyway, it is like that. I'm a very timid, shy person, but once I sort of like get out my shell, I'm a bit more talkative and a bit more will get on with a lot of people. I just felt like his character just never progressed enough, and the whole film itself just never progresses enough. It sort of like regresses the more it goes on, which is a bad thing for Linklater, because he's really good at being able to create characters. He's also really good at being able to write female characters, and there is just one main female character in the movie, and she's very underwritten, and the rest of the characters are just there to be lured at. And that's not the way Linklater normally creates his female characters. And so overall, didn't feel like a film from him. It just didn't feel like it had the kind of tones that we've seen in Boyhood, or it hadn't the kind of tones in the Before series, the After Sunset, Before Sunset, and whatever the other one's called. And so, yeah, it just doesn't feel like a Richard Linklater movie. It feels like he wrote it as well, but it feels like somebody else wrote it, and he was directing what they wrote. So overall, it's a movie that shows promise, just never fulfills that promise.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think it's very, very lacking in the character department for all the characters, really. I just think as well, it's a kind of film that it's the first half hour is fine, but then you kind of get to a point where it's like one of these films. It's basically like if you compare it to Seth Rogen. I forget the Seth Rogen. Yeah, Seth Rogen. To Seth Rogen's films, where you have this crude level of humour, and it basically just stays that crude level of humour once it gets there for the rest of the film. It's kind of like that, but not in so much of a crude humour thing, but as in a thing of a bunch of guys hanging around testosterone-ly, bragging to each other and saying, oh, what about this girl? And just talking about planning to have sex and planning to pick up girls and find chicks, and literally that's what it turns into for the last hour and a half. And it just gets so tiresome. You just kind of sit there and going, why are we following these characters? What is there interesting about them? Why do we care that they're going out to look for girls? And they're talking about the whole thing of one of the guys arguing about his roommate won't let him have the room so he can have relations with a girl, and it's like that's going on for like 10 minutes in a film, and it just doesn't need to go on for that long. If this is what I mean, because the period that it's set in for the 70s and everything looks great. 80s, 70s, 80s. I think it's
1980.
Yeah, early 80s. And it looks great, and it's all nicely done, and it's got the feel to it and everything. But if this is what people did during the 80s, I can just imagine people in the 80s must have been just so bored, because it's just boring.
It looks like a movie that was made in the 1980s, and so he's got the look and feel of the film right. It's just the people that's embodying the movie is not interesting.
Yeah, completely agree. Okay, on to The Daughter, which is a Australian drama. It's written and directed by Simon Stone. It's based on a play by Henrik Ibsen. It is a drama centering around a couple of families where you have the main character of Christian returns from overseas. He comes back because his father, played by Geoffrey Rush, is getting married to his much younger bride, Anna, played by Anna Torv, and things are sort of bringing Christian back for that. You have also he comes back and meets up with his friend Walter, and there's issues going on to do with Walter and his wife and their daughter, which are all coming sort of together to be actually revealed that there are connections between the two families, which I won't go into, spoilers which here, but that will have the explanation of and the revelation of will have ramifications for all the members of this family. Don't have a clip for this because there weren't actually many clips released for it, but basically the thing is, it's a really well written drama. There's good tensions, there's good performances from everyone. You have in there as well Sam Neill making a second appearance tonight as the father of of Christian's friend, and he's kind of playing a role where he's kind of got a bit of his memories playing up a little bit, so he's also there involved with things, and his memory is then sort of starting to bring up things too. And you have this thing of that there's resentment such that there are between Christian and his father, and the things going on, and the fact that he's getting remarried to someone much younger, and all that, as well as the things that are then starting to come out about the families and such. And it's a really well written, well paced, well directed drama that has got some it's nothing exceptional, but it's just solid all the way through. And I was kind of impressed by it, because I'd wanted to see this when it was at cinema. I didn't get a chance, and I wish I had, because I would have loved to have seen it and just sat it and completely focus on it that way. But it's a film that, if you do like a good drama, there's no action to it. There's not really even any comedy. There's nothing in it, especially just a good drama about families and sort of connections that happen between them.
Right, quickly moving on to Abattoir. It's directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, who did Saws 2, 3 and 4. So you can probably guess where this film's going. I would say it's got a very simple story, but stick with me because it's a bit nuts. It centres around an investigator. She is reporting on the fact that strange murders have occurred in these apartment buildings across the US. When you get there to these apartments, discovering that the rooms have actually gone. Not the evidence inside the rooms themselves. She gets a phone call one day when investigating this that something has happened to her family, and discovers that her family have been gruesomely murdered, and that the room has disappeared. Again, not the bodies, but the room itself has disappeared. Upon investigating it, she discovers this small little town and finds the myth behind the town, which involves this old guy called Abattoir, who supposedly managed to find a portal to hell, come back from hell, and he collects rooms where people have been murdered to stitch together the ultimate house where evil can reside in. So yeah, it's a bit of a gaga cuckoo premise, and it's a really interesting premise. It's a pity that the film itself is terrible. It's really badly constructed. If the movie was constructed the way the second you actually start getting into the area where this hotel of hell is being created, you see beds constructed all over the place which have got strange things happening to them. You see lights just suspended from nowhere. Then you enter this portal, this doorway, and you see this brilliant sight of rooms just constructed in loads of different positions. You enter this hell place and you find the ghosts and spirits and malevolent forces still wandering, trying to figure out what's happened to their bodies, and seeing them being killed again over and over again in a twisted, nasty fashion is a really smart, interesting thing. And considering it's from a director of Darren Lynn Bousman, who can create really good films, it's just not very well established. It's not very well handled, and overall the film itself is just boring, apart from that fleeting 5-minute scene where you think to yourself, this had potential. It's sort of like, it reminded me of Ghost Ship. At the start of Ghost Ship, you've got that really fantastically constructed scene where you see everybody being slaughtered on the deck of the ship, and you think, I'm going to really enjoy this movie, and then all of a sudden it turns into the mess that it is. Abattoir is that case, but you have to suffer through about 65 minutes of boredom to get to the good meaty bit, and then the rest is just, okay, you've lost the plot. That's what should actually be on the box. Okay, you've lost the plot. Okay, I'm going to quickly go over Despite the Falling Snow. I don't have a clip for it. Just going to quickly say it's written and directed by Shamin Sharif. It is based on a movie based on the novel of the same story, which is basically a drama about it kind of flashes back between I don't think it's present day, I think it's just sort of mid 2000s and 1940s Moscow. And you have a character played in both times by Rebecca Ferguson, who plays a woman, and her daughter, I think it is. I remember that because I'm reviewing this from the cinema section, because
Stuart was trying to review this but wasn't able to see it, and it's basically a drama set around the events that happened and was revealed, and the fact of that she had kind of her lover that she was with at the time in the war, and obviously the things that were going on in war at the time. It's a film that I remember being not a brilliant film. It was certainly entertaining, certainly well acted, a little bit kind of almost like a TV movie. Didn't really feel cinematic, but I didn't think it was a bad film. It's a perfectly watchable film if you are into sort of a kind of a war film, war thriller thing. Only it's more kind of the drama and the events years later of then being revealed what happened than it is more of anything to do with the war. If you're looking for something more to do with the war, then go and see Anthropoid. But if you want to see something that's more about a drama and kind of an issue of what happened to love during the war, and finding that out later sort of a thing, that kind of a story, then this may be for you, despite the falling snow.
And that's it for the new releases on this week's show. TV movies of the week.
I've got a few.
I've only got two.
Well, I've got two on 2 nights basically, because I've got two together on one night and one on the next night, which is I've got I'll start off. I'll do them in reverse order because my movie of the week will be the last one. But on Sunday the 25th September, Channel 4, 11:05 PM is The Hurt Locker, which is a very, very good, another war film, talking about war thing tonight. But double bill on the Saturday 24th September, the second film that night, 11:25 PM on Film 4, is Monsters, the Gareth Evans. Yes. Yeah. I just get Gareth Evans and Gareth Edwards from the Raid, mixed up. This is Monsters that kind of got him his foot in the door and eventually got him to things like Godzilla and things, and now he's doing,
I don't know,
Rogue One.
Oh yeah.
But before that, 9 o'clock, my TV movie of the week, Film 4, Saturday 24th September, is Prometheus, the Ridley Scott film, which is the Alien prequel. There are people who bash it, don't like it because of the fact they go, oh, it's not an Alien film, but watch it, go back and watch it, and especially because we will be getting more into this with Paradise Lost. Is it Paradise Lost? I keep getting the name.
No,
but
Alien,
it was
Alien
Covenant.
5.
Covenant. It was, yeah. And it's a very, very good film. It's just it's a film that's not the film people were expecting or wanted. It's a very, very different kind of film, but one worth seeing.
Yeah, I also had The Hurt Locker written down on the 25th of September at 11:05 at night on Film 4, but my TV movie of the week is on the 25th of September as well. I will be watching it. Nice little birthday treat for me, considering it is my birthday on Sunday. It's Kindergarten Cop. The Arnold Schwarzenegger, Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. I love Kindergarten Cop. I really like that film. It's on at 6:45 on ITV2. So a nice time as well, 6:45 at night on ITV2 on Sunday the 25th.
It will probably be sanitised for certain elements.
Yeah, it will be, because the uncut version is a 15.
Yeah.
So, but it's nowhere near as bad as the Dolph Lundgren Kindergarten Cop 2.
I think, given it's recently being done for a Blu-ray, I think it might be a 12 now, because it was released before 12s were created, so it'd probably be a 12ish now, I'd say, maybe not 15.
I wouldn't be surprised if it is kept 15, considering that there is sort of like a shooting at a school, so it's a bit of a dodgy subject still. But yeah, that's it for our TV movie of the week. Before we get into our overall movie of the week, make sure you check out our places where we reside, and we're on Twitter. I'm at Cryptic Tadpole, Andrew's at EHDVD. You can also find the Monday Movie Show at Monday Movie Show on Twitter. On Facebook, facebook.com/Monday Movie Show, or you can check us out on our own little small website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk, where you'll find out what's on the next show and when that will be happening. You heard the clip there as an advertisement from Page 2 Screen. Stuart's moving at the moment, so don't know when he's going to be available to podcast, but keep an eye on his Twitter feed to find out when that happens. Also following thenerd.com, and don't forget following the Gamer as well. There might be an episode this weekend, just depends on what kind of state I'm going to be in on Sunday. If I'm in a non-coherent state, that's not going to happen. I'm not available on Saturday, so definitely can't record one on Saturday neither. And on Friday, it's just a whole host of things that might be happening where I definitely probably maybe not be able to do one on Sunday. confusing, I know, but just keep an eye out on my Twitter feed to find that out. What is your overall movie of the week?
I'm gonna have to basically split them up a bit.
No surprise, and my guess is Hunt for the Wilderpeople and Green Room.
Well, Hunt for the Wilderpeople and The Infiltrator in cinema. Green Room, and if you've got the stomach for it, and mainly the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot for DVD.
Well, I'm going to be nice, and I'm just going to see A Hunt for the Wilderpeople in the cinema. You probably would have thought I would have said Blair Witch, but I think Hunt for the Wilderpeople is a better film. And Green Room definitely on Blu-ray and DVD. And like I said, that's it for this week's show. We should be back next Monday, but keep an eye out on the website when you'll find out that. We will be reviewing the Magnificent Seven reboot, which will play you out with a clip of that. And also on next week's show, we're taking a look at a movie that I'm really interested in seeing, Girl with All the Gifts, and possibly even Rob Zombie's new film 31.
Already seen Girl with All the Gifts?
I know you have, but I want to review that film, but we'll get onto that in a little moment when we're not actually on the show. So until next week, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Ready? I mean, good. Your shooting is good. Do it again. Sight the lowest part of the V, cheek resting against the stomach.
I had a father, thank you.
I didn't. Woo! God dang it, I'm good. 6 pounds of pressure, that's all that's required to kill a man. And they say the nightmares never go away.
Those nightmares? They keep you up often, Mr. Faraday?
You might want to wear some pants if you're fixing to fight.